Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win, you find a way to lose. If you're listening to the Bloods and Crips of the boxing community, Bloods being the Spence fans, Crips being the Crawford fans, they're banging on Twitter right now. And since Earl Spence is kind of, I can't even make a joke about it because I don't even know what to think about Earl Spence's situation. All I'll say is this, before I continue with the video, is that I'm worried about Earl Spence. And I'll just leave it as that because, I'll just leave it as that, okay? Because I don't want to think that Earl Spence went into that fight compromised. I don't want to believe this. I hear what the doctor's saying, but I don't want to believe that people knew that Earl Spence was damaged and that the fight just went on. And Earl Spence would be guilty too if he knew he was injured and went into a fight injured. But it just upsets me to think that money being the root of all evil got Spence to go in there and basically put his life on the line. And for those of you who are saying, oh, look, Hood Champion, hold your horses, you're taking it to the stupid. To that I say, you hold your horses, you're taking it to the stupid. He put his life on the line if he was compromised, because it doesn't mean he's going to get in there and get killed in the ring. Boom, he fights Crawford, and then Crawford has a shot, boom, Spence is dead. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is to take that kind of damage he took a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now. That's what I'm saying, putting your life on the line at the adverse risk to his health and the long-term effects of that violent violation that happened in the ring, okay? So that being said, the Bloods and Crips are going crazy, right? So now you got it to where all the, a lot of the Spence fans and people out there are like, look, man, Jaron, Boots, Ennis, and Keith Thurman, they're our only hope to dethrone Terence Crawford. Because now Terence Crawford has gone into a category just like Floyd Mayweather. And no, I'm not saying Terence Crawford's as good as Floyd Mayweather. Listen, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Floyd Mayweather was an absolute magician in the ring. You understand? The stuff Floyd Mayweather used to do from his first pro fight to his last pro fight is mind-blowing. Now, for those of you who just come on like in Floyd Mayweather's last 10 fights or came on after his career and you follow Twitter, and because you follow Twitter, you think you're a boxing savant, to that I say, in the most respectful way, that I kindly request, you hold your horses and don't take it to the stupid. Now listen, Jaron, Boots, Ennis, and Keith Thurman. The reason why I feel people are pointing at these two to be a real threat to Terence Crawford is because they move. Intelligent boxer punches. Their punch selection, their angles, okay? These guys aren't going to necessarily stand in front of Terence Crawford. But the thing is, Terence Crawford can outbox boxers. And this is the thing with Terence Crawford, man. I keep telling y'all, this man hits extremely hard. Extremely hard. He has those long arms. He keeps his eye on the opponent. And you know how hard it is? You know how hard it is, man, to have someone stalking you, right? Throwing bombs, and your back's on the rope, and this guy's throwing a right hand, a straight right, or a left hook, but because he keeps his eyes on his opponent and he can see, this is where experience and sparring and just experience comes from. He can watch the flexing in your chest. He can watch in your eyes. He can look at the way the body's moving and the positioning and anticipate the punch that's coming. And he can counter in between the shots. That makes it hard for someone to beat Terence Crawford. And then once he once he decides he wants to shift levels because he realizes, okay, you can't hurt him, or you don't have enough confidence in your shots because he's already countered you and you felt his power, he starts to walk you down. Now, the thing with a guy like Jaron Ennis is standing 5'10", 5'11". Hey, but understand this, Jaron, this is what can make the fight interesting, where you're talking about Jaron Ennis. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. Let me pull this over for you, okay? Make this a little bit smaller. Apologize, I probably should have did that before I got on here, but I wasn't gonna pull this up. But I know this right here, a lot of people like to look at this. Understand this about Jaron Boots Ennis. Pull it over a little bit more for you. There we go. Now it's all in the window. This man is standing 5'10", 5'11". He has a 2-inch reach advantage over Crawford. Okay? We know he's got power. Again, let's be careful if we're going to sit here and say, yeah, but who has Jaron Boots Ennis fought? I'd say that's what they said about Terence Crawford. Now, don't get me wrong. Terence Crawford has fought champions, and he's made everybody look average. But what I'm getting is let's not continue with that argument that Jaron Boots Ennis hasn't fought anyone, because that's the same argument till this day they have for Terence Crawford. Even after he beat Spence, some people still don't want to give him his credit. Okay, so all I'm saying is forget the fact that we may question the level of opposition Boots faced. Forget the fact that people still question the level of opposition Crawford faced. Let's just take it for what it is. Boots Ennis, 31 wins, 28 by knockout, almost a 90% KO ratio. Okay? He's a young guy, 26, standing damn near 6 feet tall. Has a 2-inch reach advantage on Crawford. With Boots Ennis' style, his durability, his athleticism, his power, his stamina, right? And his incredible ring IQ. He's not going to have to cut the ring off and chase after Crawford. It's going to be a chess match. But I do think Boots Ennis makes the fight very, very, very interesting. Okay? Now, we saw when Crawford fought Benavidez. He beat him. Okay? But he was having a tough time with that tall opponent. When he got in there with Mean Machine, someone who can counter and be explosive, Crawford had to initiate the action in that fight, and he got countered. And that is what I think is going to be the difference. For Boots Ennis to win this fight with all of the attributes that he has and the skill set he has, he's going to have to somehow make Terence Crawford initiate so he can counterpunch, because Boots Ennis is a counterpuncher. And he can be on the front foot. But he prefers to be more of a counterpuncher, and he will make you pay. So what you could see with Crawford and Boots Ennis is really a chess match, and somebody at some point going to have to make a decision and just say, you know what? I'm going to let my hands go. I'm going to press. I'm going to go at him. And that's not necessarily the smartest thing for Boots Ennis to do or Crawford can do. Because no matter what you think about Terence Crawford, Boots Ennis can crack. And the reality is any fighter can get hurt, and we have seen Terence Crawford get hurt. But when he gets hurt, we know what happens. He turns into a southpaw man. And then when he turns into southpaw man, he goes in there, and then the fight ends soon after. Okay? So that's all I'm saying. But I still think Terence Crawford right now, especially after that performance against Errol Spence, doesn't matter what any of us think about Errol Spence's condition, the style he has, nothing. What we saw is Terence Crawford unlock another level, which was absolutely amazing. Okay? Now, that being said, when we talk about Jaron Boots Ennis, he has a good chance against Terence Crawford. No doubt about that. I don't think anybody beats him right now. But then you talk about this guy right here, Keith one-time Thurman. And I'm going to tell you right now, there was a point in time where I thought Keith Thurman would beat everybody. When Keith Thurman was on that run, beating Sean Porter, beating Danny Garcia, just out here, damn near killed Guerrero, just out here destroying people at 147. That Keith Thurman, I put my money on that Keith Thurman. That lateral movement, and you know how hard it is for a fighter to punch while moving, not having to set their feet and to be able to let their hands go and still knock you out? Keith Thurman can do that. Pacquiao can do that. Lomachenko can do that. There aren't many fighters who can do that. Usyk can do that. And this Keith Thurman can still do that. But this is the problem. This is the problem. All right? So Keith Thurman, 30 wins, 22 by KO, 1 loss. We know that was to Pacquiao. But this is the problem you're going to run into, right? Although I think Keith Thurman makes it interesting, and even Bomac said Keith Thurman would be a much more difficult fight. than Earl Spence because of his movement, and he has some power, but because of the angles, right? So they recognize what Keith Thurman brings to the ring. But this is the problem. I'm gonna tell you right now. Keith Thurman probably about a little bit taller than Bud Crawford, right? But this just shows you how, the big man upstairs, how he decides to make up everyone physically, right? So Thurman's taller, but Bud has a 72-inch reach, and that was causing problems for Earl Spence. But Keith Thurman, his reach is only 69 inches. And I'm telling you, what I think is going to happen with Crawford and Thurman, if they fight, is one, Crawford's going to have to chase after him. Unless the first few rounds, Keith Thurman can somehow, counter and get a shot off, because Thurman's going to land. He's going to land something. It's just when he does land, is Crawford going to be able to counter him, which I think Crawford will. But that 72-inch reach Crawford has, I think Crawford can simply beat Keith Thurman with his jab. And I'm just being honest. This Keith Thurman is not the same Keith Thurman, man. And I get people out here still want to sit there, man, and be on the Keith Thurman bandwagon. I'm going to tell you, Keith Thurman was my favorite fighter, of this era. But he disappeared for the right reasons. Family. You got to take care of your family. But that hurt him, the inactivity, okay? It's just like Earl Spence going there with Crawford. I think Crawford would have beat him anyway because styles make fights. But you can't come with no tune-up and go in there and fight a beast like Crawford after a 15-month layoff. Keith Thurman's been out the ring for a while. So even if he has a tune-up, I think he's going to have to take maybe 2-3 fights. You know what I'm saying? He's going to have to take that just to get the juices flowing, man, and, kind of make sure the joints are lubricated properly, man, so he can get in that ring and not get injured, and he can actually push through the fire or try to. But I'll tell you what, Keith Thurman, unlike Shakur Stevenson, right? And the reason I'm bringing up Shakur Stevenson is because he foolishly turned down the 4-for-1 deal against Devin Haney. Now that is complete madness. Didn't want to fight Devin Haney because of the purse split, but you have an opportunity to take all 4 belts off of Devin Haney. But now you turn it down, and now you're there looking stupid. Because if Devin Haney decides to drop all the belts, now you got to fight one fighter for 1 belt. And there's the chance that you lose. Instead of fighting Devin Haney in a fight most of us feel he'd probably beat Devin Haney, and you get all 4 belts. But the 4-for-1 deal has moved on. But for Keith Thurman, he's willing to fight Terence Crawford right now because of the 4-for-1 deal. Keith Thurman's not stupid. He knows how hard it was for him to fight all them opponents just for him to get 2 belts. Keith Thurman's not dumb. He like, man, look, I can get in here, make some real money, and a chance to get all 4 belts. Talk about, getting beyond the power curve, making up for lost time. Keith Thurman's not dumb. But at the same time, I don't think Al Heyman's just going to throw him in there. Keith Thurman's going to have to figure something out. But when we start talking about mandatories and who's up next for what's his name, Terence Crawford, I mean, we got to be real because, although they have Boots Ennis as the next in line, I'm telling you right now, do not be surprised. Let me pull this up, right? Do not be surprised. Let me make this a little smaller for you. If Keith Thurman ends up getting that opportunity, that's all I'm saying. I don't want nobody to get mad and say, hey, man, what's going on? We all know the secret society exists. There's nothing for us to sit here, in my opinion, and really think about. The secret society is going to do what they want. So let's just keep that in perspective. So now this is what we're dealing with, people. You got Crawford, and then, this is just a breakdown. I don't know how you got. They need to fix this crap. You got Crawford after Spence. But anyway, outside of Thurman and Boots Ennis, we start talking about mandatories, right? Let's look at this. Probably needs to be 18 July, 1 July, 17 July, 20. So they need to update it now. But this is still good enough for us to take a look and understand. When you talk about the WBO, right? You got Alexis Rocha. He's going to have to get his shot at Terence Crawford at some time. But I don't think he'll be next. Jaron Boots Ennis under the IBF. He's in line to get his shot at Terence Crawford. Could be next. Could be some lawsuits. I don't think they want step aside money. That's if Crawford and Spence don't happen, which I don't think the rematch will happen, especially at 147. Then you got Crawford here in the WBC. Look who's right there as the mandatory, Keith Thurman. Cody Crowley just fought in an eliminator, so he's a mandatory as well. But I don't think they're going to, I think for Keith Thurman as a comeback fight, he may fight Crowley. And then after that, he'll beat Crowley, and then he'll go on, and then Boots may go before Thurman. And then you come and look over here in the WBA, you got Stanley Ennis, who I don't think you're going to get an opportunity at Terence Crawford anytime soon. But if Stanley Ennis was to fight Crawford, Crawford tranquilizes him, because styles make fights. And Virgil Ortiz Jr., he's not fighting at 147 no more. But of these names, and when you start to really think about the secret society and how they work, right, as far as making the matches that are the most lucrative, the two names that bubble to the top, Keith Thurman and Boots Ennis. So if Spence and Crawford in the rematch doesn't materialize, I honestly feel Crawford is it's Boots or Thurman, but I think Thurman will go before Boots, man. I really do. I think Suleiman's going to sit there and push Thurman. I mean, the argument's going to be Thurman's been in a holding pattern for all these years, and it's only right that we finally get him his shot. And that's going to just piss off Boots Ennis. Stanley Ennis is going to be frustrated. Everyone's going to be frustrated because Keith Thurman comes out of nowhere, and then he gets a shot at the 4-for-1 deal. But if it's not Keith Thurman and things and the system works the way it's supposed to, it'll be Boots Ennis. Now, let's just forget about all that. The fights that there's one fighter here who I think needs to be in the mix. I don't know why this man's not getting an opportunity, but it's Blair the Flair Cobb. Yeah. So when you look at this racking stack, they got Blair Cobb under the WBO. I'd like to see him and Terence Crawford fight personally. I think I would like to see Crawford knocking him out with all that big bushy cheese hair that he has. But Blair Cobb's ranked number 11 in the WBO. Unfortunately, I don't know why, but they don't have him ranked in the IBF. They even dropped Rashidi Ellis out. They don't have him ranked in the WBC, and they don't have my boy ranked in the WBA. And just for your information, Blair Cobb is the best fighter in the world, in my opinion. Anyway, we'll see what happens with Jaron Boots Ennis, Keith Thurman. But for those Spence fans out there and those fans out there who just still hating on Terence Crawford, look, what they're saying now is, hey, Jaron Boots Ennis and Keith Thurman are our only hope to dethrone Terence Crawford. And when you really look at, let me go back to this list, when you really look at the names that's out there, there's no one that can beat Crawford. And then you come and look up here, no one can beat Crawford. Ennis, we got to see Ortiz. Styles make fights. Ortiz can fight, man. I gotta be real. Can't take it to the stupid. Ortiz can fight. Just don't know about his health, man. Stanley Ennis can fight. I just think he takes too many shots. Crawford will tranquilize him. Rocha, let's not take it to the stupid, right? Crowley, he fights like Spence, and he has and he goes down and he gets hurt. Crowley I'll give it 2 rounds. Terence Crawford will stop him. Fanasian, all right, we already know. Giasov, I don't know much about him. Via, it is what it is. But that being said, we'll see what happens with Crawford and Spence, the rematch, what's next. Don't get me wrong, Boots Ennis, that's what he did to Roman Villa, was mind-blowing. Mind-blowing, that performance was amazing. Villa's not Crawford. Keith Thurman, we know what he's been able to do years ago, but this isn't that Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman's just a gatekeeper, guy with a name, and guy who really deserves a shot to try to get his WBC title back. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure Thurman has a chance against Crawford when you look at his dimensions, the reach, his style. I just think Crawford touches him up, and I think Crawford knocks him out, especially Crawford's ability to get in between shots and throw to the body. Now, Boots Ennis, that I think he probably has the best chance to make the fight the most interesting, because he's just in every area as far as his physicality, bigger, longer. Doesn't mean stronger, because Crawford's strong. And then his ability to counter punch and switch it But the thing with Boots Ennis, his hands are down. He gets hit a lot. I think Boots Ennis will get knocked out. But then again, the best fighter doesn't win the match. It's the fighter who boxes the best on that night. And you just never know. But if I was a betting man, right now, for anybody at 147, I'm not betting against Crawford. And I'll be honest with you about this, man. You talking about 154? I wouldn't bet against Crawford about anybody at 154. You know what I'm saying? Zub, Smith, Mendoza, Fundora, Lubin, Madrimov, Ramos, Harrison, Sorrell, Conwell, Jamel Charlo. That's an interesting fight. Boots, Jamel, make it interesting. But I don't know. We just have to see. Jamel's the only one at 154 right now that I say would be an interesting fight. And you go up to 160, they start getting a little bit big up here, but I think 160 is where Crawford, could get interesting with some of these fighters. But you just can't count them out. Okay? That being said, shout out to the veterans all 7 continents. We'll see what's next for Crawford. But we know it's either Spence. If not, it's going to be Ennis or Thurman. And y'all just brace yourselves if it's Thurman, because it could happen. But for Boots Ennis, it can get a little bit sticky. But I still got Crawford winning. Y'all keep cool. I'm in the breeze.